Hey YouTube, I'm Mike the Rambling He-Witch, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that is both basic yet advanced. Today we're talking about circles. In Wicca and witchcraft, a ritual circle is a spiritual boundary that we put around our ritual area in order to protect it and make it sacred. When a circle is cast, it keeps out all harmful energy while boosting all the beneficial energy that's been raised inside the sacred space. Some people mark a physical circle by drawing it out on the ground with chalk or by laying down things like rope or flower petals or candles. Other people, myself included, we just visualize our circles and keep a general idea of where it's supposed to lie around the physical space. So when should you cast a circle? Some Wiccan traditions say that you should cast a circle literally every time you work magic or perform a ritual. Personally, I only feel the need to cast a circle for group rituals, for formal ceremonies, or for a serious magical working like a binding, a banishing, or an emergency protection or healing. Follow your intuition and decide when your energy needs the extra protection and extra strength. So how do you cast a circle? I'm going to show you a basic and simple way to cast a circle. In this example, I'm going to use my besom, but you could also use an athame, a wand, or even your finger. Once I have my space cleansed and my altar set up, I walk around the altar clockwise with my besom. As I go, I sweep it along the floor, imagining that I'm holding a giant paintbrush and painting a circle of silver light. If I choose to use my finger or my athame, I usually picture this circle of light being traced in the air around me. I take a moment to visualize that nothing bad can cross the silver circle. No stress, no toxic intentions, only good things that will help and strengthen me. Once cast, I like to say something to establish my circle's purpose. Usually I'll say, I cast the circle to protect and empower me in my rights. Blessed be. Next, I call the quarters. Calling the quarters is when you call the four elements from each of their directions to strengthen your circle and bring it balance. Not everybody calls the quarters for their circle, but in Wicca it's pretty standard. For me, it's how I make my circle feel complete. A lot of people call the quarters by inviting the elemental spirit or animal spirit of each direction to come and stand guard over their circle. So you might call the gnomes from the north and the sylphs from the east. Or you might call the lion from the south and the octopus from the west. You might even call each element as a corresponding deity or angel. Personally, I like to focus on the elements themselves and the energy that each make me feel. Here's a quick reference guide for each of the quarters. For more info on the elements, feel free to check out my 4 Elements series. When I call the quarters, I start in the east. Starting in the east is pretty traditional because it's where the sun rises and the day begins, but a lot of people also prefer to start in the north. Choose whatever direction you're most comfortable with. As I stand facing the east, I picture the element of air the best that I can. I visualize fast-moving clouds, ringing wind chimes, and breezy days. Then I'll say something simple, like, Element of air, watch over me from the east and bring my circle your wisdom and inspiration. Hail and welcome. That hail and welcome at the end is important for me. I want the elements to feel invited and honored, not like I'm forcing them to be there. Next, I face the south and I picture fire. I imagine summer bonfires, erupting volcanoes, and hot deserts. I say, element of fire, watch over me from the south and bring my circle your passion and courage. Hail and welcome. Next, I face the west and I picture water. I picture ocean waves, gentle rainstorms, and running streams. I say, element of water, watch over me from the west and bring my circle your intuition and compassion. Hail and welcome. Finally, I face the north and I picture earth. I imagine dense forests, fertile gardens, and tall mountains. I say, element of earth, watch over me from the north, and bring my circle your stability and strength. Hail and welcome. After I've called in all the elements, I wrap things up by saying, blessed by the four directions, my circle is cast and sealed. This is now a safe and sacred space, so mote it be. Then I go ahead and have my celebration or perform my ritual. While you're in your circle, you don't want anyone disrupting it by stepping in or out of your sacred space. That being said, sometimes there are cases when you need to leave the circle and jump right back in. Say you're celebrating the full moon and you have this ritual planned with a beautiful goddess candle that you've anointed and decorated. You set up your space, you've cast a beautiful circle, and then you realize you've left your candle in the next room. It doesn't feel right doing this ritual without it, but you don't want to ruin your circle by walking through it. This is when we make a doorway. This process is usually called cutting a door because it's often done by taking your athame and literally tracing a doorway in the air over your circle. Once you've left and stepped back in the circle, you trace the doorway in reverse and picture it being erased. Again, you don't always have to use your athame. When I'm making a door, I'll take my finger and I'll raise it from the floor to the ceiling, imagining that I'm lifting a curtain over my head and stepping out of the circle. When I step back in, I lift the curtain again, duck under it, and lower it back onto the ground. When my ritual is done, now it's time to release the circle. I start by saying farewell to the quarters in reverse order. Since the last element I called was earth, I start by facing the north and saying, element of earth, return to the north in perfect love and perfect trust. Hail and farewell. Next, I face the west. Element of water, return to the west in perfect love and perfect trust. Hail and farewell. Then the south. Element of fire, return to the south in perfect love and perfect trust. Hail and farewell. Finally, the east. Element of air, return to the east in perfect love and perfect trust. Hail and farewell. Now that all the quarters are on their way back home, it's time to take down the circle itself. I take my besom and I walk around my altar again, this time counterclockwise to undo. As I sweep along the floor, I picture that silver circle that I painted being erased. I say, the circle is open but never broken. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. The statement is basically saying that no matter where I am, I will always be able to return to my sacred space because I carry it with me. And that's how I cast my circle. Though this is the way I'm most comfortable with, there are definitely more methods to experiment with and try out. If you want to read more about circle casting and calling the quarters, I would recommend reading To Stir a Magic Cauldron by Silver Ravenwolf, Sons of the Goddess by Christopher Pengsack, and Witch Crafting by Phyllis Curott. If you're interested in any fictional reading, there's a young adult series that I love called The Circle of Three by Isabel Bird. Each book in the series describes a different and creative way to cast the circle and call the quarters. And that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching my video, folks. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. That's how I know to make more content. Let me know if there are any other subjects you want to learn about, and as always, blessed be.